Welcome to another episode of Authentic Chat. This one's going to be a good one. We've got four people on today rather than the usual three. Two of them with hair. I don't even know what to do about that. And who we're talking to today, it's going to be me, Ryan, and Bojan talking to Rustam from Group-IB. And if you don't know the name, you should. Group-IB is a global leader in cybersecurity. They are sort of these guys that figure out stuff that the rest of us should probably already know about, and then tell us, hey, guess what? You messed up, but here's how you can fix it, and here's what we found. It's awesome. We will let them do the full intro, but we're talking like they figure out how the hacks work. They figure out who hacked you, all that good stuff. So, Ryan, any color context
Oh,
on that?
well, why, thank you, Darren. I'm excited just because one, we get another meeting with and hanging out time with Boyan. That's always a special treat. And then being able to meet up with Rustam, who's did a lot of research specifically around Oktapus, or what I guess they're calling scatter swine now as well. And then I saw some notes coming out of that team around some of the stuff that took place with the
Hmm.
Uber experience. So it'll be interesting to see what we can, how deep we go, how wide we go, and getting some amazing insights from Rustam. So with that, Darren, I'm going to make sure you have the mic and put me in the corner.
Oh, I don't put baby in the corner. So, Boyan, welcome back to the program.
Thank you
Uh,
guys for having me again.
Always good to have you.
I do still have some hair up here, although it's less and less every day, I feel like.
Shave it off. You will be so grateful. You'll just one day go, wow, I woke up and I'm perfect. Don't be burdened with hair. And
Join us.
then
Join
also
us.
come join us. Join us. Also on the chat, like we said, is Rustam from Group-IB. Rustam, welcome to the chat.
Thank you, Darren. Really appreciate for inviting me here, and hope I'll give some interesting information to you today.
I think it's going to be great. So I kind of, I did the poor man's version of what you guys do. If you wouldn't mind, I bet you have a lot better understanding of how you guys work and everything. So if you wouldn't mind, just give me a recap of what Group-IB does, and where they sit in the market and all that good stuff.
So we have offices at the moment, I think, in three places. So I'm now located in Amsterdam. It's our European headquarters. We have an office in Dubai. So they are responsible for EMEA market, and our headquarters now is located in Singapore. Um, um, so we have a lot of different services and products in cybersecurity field, but the company started its history from providing investigation services, like when someone got hacked. Uh, we're there to help the victim to investigate the attack, to reconstruct the attack, to understand what happened. And we collect all evidences in order to provide advices, what should be fixed. And also we work, let's say, very close with law enforcement to provide them this collected digital fingerprints in order to identify those criminals or bad guys behind the attack and help them to find and do all the stuff.
And Ryan had mentioned you guys, your group was responsible for finding Octopus slash Scatter Swine. How'd that come about? Like that's some major news out there that, even somebody as poorly untechnical compared to Ryan and Boyan as I am knew about that. So tell me about that.
So I'm working in a threat intelligence department, and basically my responsibility is to track hacking groups, both cybercrime and state-sponsored hacking groups, and I'm just trying to find a way how we can track their infrastructure, their activities, and we provide this information to our customers so they can take measures to protect their infrastructure and mitigate the attacks if they got already hacked. And that particular case started with with a request from our customer located in United States. So some of their employees received phishing SMS messages with links. So they provided them to us and asked, hey guys, please collect information about this attack and help us to take measures. And let me think. Actually, we did everything. And usually, not usually, but sometimes, it's difficult to collect everything. But this case was different, and we collected everything regarding the threat actor, regarding all his campaigns, and all victims. So yeah, we collected everything important to investigate the whole campaign, all activities, and finally we were able to collect social media accounts of the threat actor behind this phishing kit.
That's intense.
Yeah, and let's say usually we don't go public, but we noticed that these attacks started to be discussed in community, and one day I read news that someone claimed that Signal got hacked and Signal is not safe messenger and so on. So I went to our PR department and asked, I don't think that Signal got hacked, that Signal itself got hacked. So I would like to publish some data, and let's help the community and maybe do some great PR. So that's why actually this blog post was published, and it was just a decision. So we went to the customer and asked him for his permission to go public.
That's really cool, man. Yeah, I think it probably got a lot more attention than you initially thought it would. I definitely think it was a really informative and well articulated blog post, and I certainly found it useful. I'd like to kind of get your perspective on how this type of thing is possible to begin with, because for as long as I've been in security, social engineering has been a part of it. And so one of the most interesting pieces for me is how the social engineering aspect is starting to become easier and easier, and people with less and less hacking skills are able to do it. So I'd love to kind of get your perspective on that part of it, and maybe how you've seen it change, over the last few months or years in particular.
So the question is really wide. I have a lot to say, actually, but I would like to start with a movie. I think it was a German movie. Who Am I? Have you watched it?
No, I only took German in like high school, and so
So it's about a group of young men who started to conduct, let's say, hacking attacks. It's some kind of hacking movie, but there was a guy who didn't know anything about computers and so on, but he was great in social engineering. So, and this movie shows us, like, you can hack a system even without any IT knowledges, and so let's say there are a lot of ways to make an intrusion into some infrastructure, and computers is just one of those ways. So now we will focus on cybersecurity, and will not cover all this stuff. But social engineering methods, they will be always relevant and actual for hackers. Also, let's say I think it started in 2014 or 15. There was a Italian company. They provided some kind of services for law enforcement. So let's say they announced that they provide services only for law enforcement. It was hacking team, I think, and actually it was. I started my career in 2014, so it was just 1 year after I joined the Group-IB as junior specialist, and after 2015, more and more we started to monitor how some hacking tools started to be publicly available. Sometimes just because of leakages of breaches, sometimes because people just stole these special programs or frameworks and uploaded them to and shared with the community. And we observed the significant changes with CobbleStrike framework was published on some hacking forums. And actually, CobbleStrike is very similar to Metasploit framework, but at the same time, it provides, let's say, it's much more comfortable to be used, and it significantly decreased the requirements of your technical skills to conduct some attack on infrastructure. So yeah, this OktaKit campaign, or Oktapus, how we adapted in our blog post, it shows that even without super high level of skills, technical skills, you can get access to some company's secret. So the phishing kit itself is very simple, and moreover, we noticed that in the end of attack, legitimate AnyDesk executable for Windows was downloaded. And firstly, we had a question like, the attack itself was performed on mobile devices. There is no reason to deliver a Windows executable. And after we managed to get the source codes of the phishing kit, we just found that it was hard-coded. So it seems like the developer of this phishing kit, he just found this code somewhere and then made some improvements to tailor the framework to conduct these attacks, or maybe he just bought it. I don't know, but it seems like the author of this phishing kit didn't pay enough attention on that. So it doesn't make sense to deliver Windows executable to mobile devices. And then we realized, okay, seems this guy is not prepared enough in terms of developing this kind of frameworks or phishing kit. So
yeah, it's really interesting when you see like teenagers executing these attacks. And so I remember when tools like, like some of the stuff that's in CobbleStrike, but also like things like Evil Genex and Modlishka finding its way to GitHub. and those are open source tools for research purposes, but most people use them for other reasons. And so that's like that decreases the barrier to execute an attack, right? But then you get people going on forums and providing dark web forums, right? And providing basically these tools as a service. So hey, send me $200 in Bitcoin, and send me the names of the people you want to target or the organization you want to target, and push a button and execute a Python script that will go and do these things, and or Golang, whatever your preferences. We have an inside joke here, Rustam, where one of us, I will not say who, prefers to do everything in Golang all the time. But anyway, besides that, things like these tools and capabilities kind of being packaged as a service is really decreasing the barrier for unsophisticated people to go out and execute attacks. And so, it feels like, earlier we were discussing like these things have been possible since, a very long time, 2014, 2015, even before that. But when things that are traditionally manual in nature, like executing a social engineering campaign, become automated in nature, that's kind of when the balance shifts. You go from maybe one or two companies being affected, every day to 2,000 companies being affected every day. Then you guys get a lot more business at Group-IB, and we have a lot more podcasts to talk about. But it's just been really fascinating for me to watch in particular. Ryan, I don't know about you.
The evolution has been insane. It's like we've always observed, and Rustam, you brought it up, like you came in 2014. Look at the evolution of the business model for nefarious activities, excluding nation states. Just the business models that have evolved to as a service. Our whole industry has moved to as a service and subscriptions. Why wouldn't a nefarious business model pop up? So I agree. I don't think we're ever going to get social engineering solved. That's a forever part of life, I think. Trying to make the technology offset to an extent, I think it's the only kind of thing that we'll be able to do to mitigate some of that to help protect. But it's what would you say you're seeing kind of as possible mitigations to some of these attacks, Rustam? Phishing's one, but there's also the authentication mechanisms that obviously are being compromised.
Let me first give my viewing on about this GitHub available projects like for educational purposes. So I think it's always a question of exposing the information. The humanity itself needs information to be available for everyone, just because we need to educate. Without that, I'll not be able to grow so fast. Like I entered the cybersecurity field only in 2014, and without this knowledge available for free for everyone, I'll not be able to achieve my current technical level. So let's say on one part, I agree it's bad to make this information available for everyone. At the same time, it is essential to assure that young generation will be able to learn more and faster. So it's, let's say, your safety is your responsibility. And if someone knows how to write a malware, it shouldn't somehow affect your safety. So, without without information be available to everyone, the humanity can't grow up fast.
Yeah, I agree, and that's the beauty of open source software. You know, like, yeah, I think if the whole concept of open source never happened, I think technology would evolve at a very slow pace. And plus, you know, one of the perks of the internet and open source software in general is like it in some ways makes advancement a more fair game.
Yeah. So if we switch back to Ryan's question, let's say it's when it's always a fight between a cybersecurity officer and business managers. So as business manager, you always try to decrease resources you need to develop something. So in that case, you're going, okay, let's hire someone remotely because we can spend less money on that. Let's ignore this security issue because we don't have resources to update our systems and so on. It's okay because it's a business model. At the same time, security officer tries to limit access everywhere, but it is always a question. Okay, can my business continues to work in these limits? And let's say good security officer always tries to find the balance, the right balance. And in case of such attacks, of course, I can say it's better, to restrict the access to internal systems, to internal information, and employees have to be at the office to work with that services, to work with that data. At the same time, I don't think it's possible. Even in Group-IB, we have some remote workers, and they need this access to internal systems. So what we can do here is to facilitate this access and assure that it is secured. So you have access to some important data to the infrastructure, and it is somehow secured, checked by some systems. And we have different ways to achieve that. And this case just showed that OTP codes, or so second factor as SMS message, is not the best way. And this particular case is, let's say, in some words, it is sophisticated. Even this phishing kit was really simple. The attacker first attacked some telecom companies and obtained data which was used by this attacker later to conduct attacks on other companies. So it is sophisticated attack. And let's say if you secure your infrastructure, but you gave access to your remote workers, and you can't still be sure that their private devices are secured. For example, I have a really nice example with North Korean hackers from Lazarus. They started to conduct attacks on some employees of who work in critical infrastructure, and they started to conduct attacks not on corporate infrastructure but on their private devices. And it works. It works really nice. And in in these words, it is really similar to Octakit or Oktapus campaign. So in that case, I suggest to use other second factor, not SMS message. And at the same time, I really recommend to companies to continuously educate your employees. Like you need on regular basis explain your employees what is phishing attack, how it can be conducted. So next time when they receive real phishing message, they will immediately recognize, it is the attack. So when your employee recognizes such kind of attacks, you'll be more protected. At the same time, as second factor, you can use some kind of hardware dongles. So it is the way also to assure that the connection or the logged in user is legitimate. But again, it's not, it can't guarantee you or can't give you 100% confidence that the user is verified. Because, for example, in case of attacks on financial institutions, financial accountants, they have a lot of such kind of keys, hardware keys or tokens to authorize into their accounts. But in such cases, criminals deliver some kind of backdoors or trojans, and then they use the device itself to steal money from an account. So as a cybersecurity officer, you always need to think possible vectors to conduct attacks on your infrastructure. And I can't give you like general or universal way to protect your infrastructure. It's all it changes from case to case.
So Bojan,
it also keeps all of us employed, right? To some extent, the fact that there is no.
We should come up with a way to eliminate the password altogether. If you could work on that, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'll get right on it. So in the last few weeks, right, we had the Twilio breach become public. We had the Oktapus stuff that you guys published. We had Cisco, right? We had Uber most recently. Then there was was American Airlines, similar, all phishing, right? Kind of like one after the other. And I feel like it's becoming much more common, right? And so, is it a valid theory that, just the kind of the focus on phishing bypass or bypassing traditional or OTP based MFA, is it something that kind of has become more popular of an attack to execute because of the recent breaches? Like you guys follow groups, and all that type of stuff. Are you kind of starting to see a pattern develop in this case, or is it picking up more than it was maybe a year or two ago?
So I think nowadays it's really common stuff. For example, last year we made a joint case with Dutch National High-Tech Crime Unit, and hackers here, they stole this second factor. So I have a really weird device to authorize to use a second factor to access my banking account here in Netherlands. And I thought, wow, does it really make sense? Can it really help? And so I came here, actually, I was relocated to Netherlands 2 years ago. And the local threat landscape was new for me, and I started to research, and we found this group named Fraud Family, and their phishing kit was developed in such way so it was able to, let's say, it provided some kind of instructions in order to force the victim to enter first his login, then password, and then the second factor. And this second factor, to get this second factor, you need to use this weird device like calculator, you know. and they stole a lot of money. And this phishing kit was developed by a student. So police arrested him, like literally at university.
Yeah, like was it they arrested a 17-year-old in England for the Uber stuff or something, right? Like, so look, if a teenager can do it, you know, it's too easy. Like, the companies spend millions of dollars on their cybersecurity programs, and then they, you know, protect all of it with a SMS 2FA or something. It's like, you know, it's kind of defeating the purpose of all the resources and the money spent. There are better ways, more modern ways. I think usually, like what you said, Rustam, in the beginning, which is, you know, it's all about the trade-off between the user experience and what actually enables the business versus the security controls that are implemented. And finding that balance is critical. And in a world where businesses are trying to move faster than ever, you know, security teams are often, you know, put in a position where they have to make some really tough choices. And sometimes they're not the favorite people within the organization.
Yeah.
Sometimes,
by the way,
I would say it's a
sorry.
little bit more than sometimes from what I've observed over the years. I'm not sure about you there.
I just forgot to say that actually there are also other ways to authorize the user. So at Group-IB, we have some kind of algorithm which should be installed on customer side. And when any user is logged in, the algorithm starts to record and analyze the behavior. And with this statistic, the algorithm can say like, okay, this is the legitimate user. He usually works with this account. And when fraudster logs in using, for example, other device, and he clicks on a page with different frequency, the algorithm can understand that and raise an alert. So it is another way to assure that the legitimate user is logged in.
Yeah, I love a lot of those types of capabilities, you know, and then some executive goes on vacation, you know, to some other country and can't log in on their iPad. And then, you know, and then they pick up the phone and say, what idiot in security implemented this? I can't believe this. Find somebody new tomorrow. Click. You know, and then all of it gets removed.
I have such stories, but I can't tell them today. It's not good for us. I mean, for Group-IB. But yeah, of course, we had such cases too.
It's fascinating to me. My son's 14 and he's been coding for about 2 years. So in about 4 years, Bojan, he'll be coming to you. But he would look at the Oktapus hack and say, "Are you kidding? This person used borrowed code that didn't even work on the first devices he sent it to. That's just lazy, right?" But that mentality, you've got people out there who are not even putting the full effort in, like you described. Like they're just using somebody else's code, or they bought code off the internet, like Bojan had mentioned, and then just throwing it at people, hoping that something's going to work somewhere. And we have to come up with these highly complex solutions to prevent against it. is just, it's this war almost between socializing hacking, right, which is basically what it is now. It's sort of crowdsourcing hacking versus having to be amazingly technical against that. And so, you know, shameless plug moment, but it's one of the reasons I love what we do, is because we're trying to eliminate one of those vectors, right? And I love that.
So let's say cybersecurity, not cybersecurity, but hacking itself, like and criminals, they evolve as white hats, so black hats evolve. Everything is evolving, and as typical business, underground also looks for possibilities to decrease amount of resources you need to conduct attacks. So that's why nowadays we have, let's say, like typical services, phishing services. So those people, they don't care about attack itself. They just receive from their customer what should be delivered. Sometimes they also provide target lists and so on, but they have just to deliver, and they don't care what will be next. At the same time, we have, I think ransomware groups is the best example of that process. So nowadays, ransomware groups are really sophisticated in terms of business model, and they have different departments like general companies, software developer companies nowadays, and for example, some of them can even rent an office. So we had such case. I don't remember the name of ransomware group, but they rented an office in Moscow somewhere, hired people. So people thought that, let's say, it's not actually the truth. I don't believe that you can do this. You can intrude some infrastructure and think, yeah, I'm doing just legitimate pen test. It's impossible. I don't think so. But again, they built their business like a typical software company, and they have different departments. Every department is responsible for some part of this job. And
there's payables, accounts receivables, there's PR, there's social media. I mean,
yeah,
they got full businesses going.
Yeah, they even pay taxes, you know? Yeah, yeah. So it's ridiculous, but yeah, modern hacking groups, they are very similar to typical organizations nowadays, and yeah.
I wonder if there are any hacking groups out there where the employees don't know they're a hacking group. You know, they just maybe it's a ransomware hacking group, but maybe they just have a department that is, you know, really, really good at encryption, you know, of endpoint devices. Maybe they have a department that's really good at, getting people to click on emails, you know, type of stuff. And there was a group where they just kind of put it all together and, you know, and then execute their attacks.
It's a tremendous movie idea. It really is. You know, you're the accountant. You have no idea that you're part of a hacking group, and then you discover all of these things.
Yeah, we had a case. I think it happened 2 or 3 years ago. No, even older, maybe 4 or 5. So we made an incident response in some organization, and we found that one employee like clicked on a link, and it wasn't an accident. So he's supposed to click on that link. So yeah, it is always difficult to prove that on the court, but we collected enough evidences to confirm that version, and he got arrested, this employee. So it is not just a fairy tale, a story. It happened, and I think, yeah, also a year ago, some ransomware group, I think it was Logbit, but I'm not sure, maybe Revel, they made an announcement that they will pay 1 million United States dollars to an employee who will provide them access into infrastructure. So this model works.
Yeah, of course. Especially, I think that model is probably going to be more and more successful because so many more companies are now remote.
Mm-hmm.
So when an employee joins, they usually never meet their coworkers, right? And so I think that there is probably less loyalty to the business and there is less likelihood of you getting caught if you're not sitting in an office. Like, hey, I'm a systems engineer for this company. Somebody offers me, 10 Bitcoins to, click a link. Okay. Like, oops. Yeah, and the organization may not know about it. And one of the scary things to me is we see like 17-year-olds, we see teenagers executing these attacks, on companies like Uber and such. Well, if it's so easy for them, right, then like think of all the nation states that are doing this at scale, and we just don't know about it. Well, you guys probably do a little bit more than us, right? But like the amount of activity that's probably happening around this on a hourly basis is probably very significant. And there's people out there who are just stitching up the data that is leaked from all these different breaches, like phone numbers here, email addresses here, WhatsApp account names here, putting it together and then, selling it as a service. And it's a pretty lucrative business, and probably, something that somebody can write a short Python or Go script, to just go and do very quickly with little effort. And like you said, there's entire businesses around this now, and it's just fascinating to watch.
I mean, you can think about it as even an evolution to these becoming just small little pieces for being distraction campaigns, right? It's so cheap to threat, if you're a nation state actor, you can use these as just a distraction, keep the security teams focused over there while you're going and doing maybe a little bit more nefarious work. So it's going to be pretty interesting. I think we're all in for a wild ride. Honestly, I think Bojan, you and I are into being on the defense and taking punishment because we are fighting that battle every day and trying to mitigate and whack-a-mole. Yeah, it's going to be a long, fun journey, I think, for anybody who joins in the cybersecurity space.
Ryan, I like literally 2 years ago, I had a really weird case. Like I read in some blog post that American company got hacked. I started to check indicators, and I found in these indicators one of our customer IPs was mentioned. So I thought, what the hell is our customers got hacked and used as proxy to conduct attacks on this American company? So I started to investigate. So I reached out to our customer, asked him, hey, I noticed this IP there. Unfortunately, we don't have timestamps. This is the only information provided in this blog post. And I managed to somehow filter when probably the attack was conducted. So I provided this information to CISO in our customers organization, and later this officer came back and told me, like, yeah, we found the guy, like who did it. So it wasn't like a hack of customer organization, but this guy was working as a cybersecurity specialist in a company. At the same time, he used his working computer to conduct attacks on other organizations. So it's ridiculous, but it happened.
I can imagine that's not uncommon. But Darren, were you about to say something?
I was just going to say that right there is another example of why we in the world at large are glad that you and your company exist, because you can find these things and find the Oktapus attack, and really, you're doing the world a service. It really is, because you're alerting people to the fact that these hacks happen. They are very real and can be perpetrated by people who have no idea what they're doing in a real sense, and yet still pull it off. So glad that you're out there. I am super happy I got a chance to talk to you. Rustam, thank you so much for joining us on our little podcast here. Bojan, Ryan, as always, thank you for being the brains of the group. I just hold up the good looks, so I appreciate that. And anybody who is watching, welcome, and thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Thanks so much.
Pleasure, guys. Thank you.